Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now this is the Celtic Society, if I'm correct. It's known as the Celtic Society.
Or the Texas Coritani, to be more specific.
And I see you guys are wearing your Celtic torcs, and it seems that one of them is already has the spiky hair. Now, all that's missing is the lime in the hair, am I correct?
Sure, we could do that.
But I'm kind of wondering, what was the reason for the Celtic torque to be around? Because some say it was meaning of a free person. Some say it was the meaning of a warrior. Which one is it?
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, just jump in at any time. There's a lot of theories, but they've never found this in around the neck of a noble or a wealthy person, correct?
Even a grave for that matter in Britain.
Right. So, one of the popular theories, the one that I like the most, is that the Celts did maintain the cult of the human head, and I guess in their own way it's correct in assuming that your life force, your consciousness, everything was in your head. So collecting heads was something that they did. So the theory is that if you had this around someone's neck, then you control their head.
Ugh.
But there's nothing really to base that on. That's just pure conjecture. All we know for sure is that we find these in an Iron Age Celtic context in archaeology. That's about most of what we know.
Now I also see that you even got yourself your Celtic shoes, or are they sandals?
They're shoes. They're the one-piece shoes.
Pretty badass if you think about them.
Yeah, and they're very comfortable. And if they get mud in them, they just run right out.
Yeah, I guess that's what the Romans ended up copying off of. Am I correct?
The Romans, the things that the Romans took from the Celts were the pants, because Romans felt like pants were effeminate. But when they invaded further north, they found out, hey, these pants idea is not so bad. It's kind of cold up here.
Then they also copied off of the armor, the weapons, etc.
The Romans also ended up adopting the torque as military decoration. They also adopted not only this type of helmet, but other types of Celtic helmets.
Yeah, especially the most popular one that the Romans used, which was used in Gaul.
The mainstay, this is a different example of chainmail. This is butted mail, but the Romans used mainly riveted mail, but it was also originally a Celtic development that the Romans took.
And if I'm not mistaken, that is a Celtic Latin sword, or?
Yes.
That's right. Beautiful craftsmanship.
A longer sword, longer than what the Romans would have used, and their fighting style, the Celts' fighting style, was more slashing, and the Romans were stabbing primarily.
Yeah, but still, that I really don't want to end up getting skewered with.
Right.
And beautiful decoration, you have to see it. Because I've even heard that these type of swords as well, the reason they ended up placing these on here was because this was the head, this was the body right here. And that the body and the spirit would be sucked into the sword, they say. Or is that true? Or?
It's, the problem with this time period is that the Celts were mainly, they had verbal tradition. So things like philosophy, religion, their mythology, their poetry, their literature, it was all transmitted verbally, and people would memorize literature. So they didn't write anything down. So a lot of
not that much.
Not at all. Most of the written sources about Celtic history are all from Roman authors.
But if I remember correctly, there is a show that actually came on BBC America that with Neil Oliver when he talks about the ancient Celts.
Right. Well, what he's referencing is works that were written in the Middle Ages by Irish monks. So anything that may have survived from ancient times did so orally and were recorded by Irish monks. Like the Irish sagas would be one example of that.
I'm okay with it. You can go.
But there's no written histories of the ancient the Iron Age Celts.
I also see that there's also a Celtic mirror right there.
Next to the Celtic can of Dr. Pepper. I don't know so much about those, Jeff.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, so these are made out of bronze, and they're just they can be polished real brightly, so it would look
Yeah,
like
you'll be
a
able
rear mirror.
to see out of it. There we go. Yeah, it's actually pretty beautiful, and look at that is just
you
beautiful.
would see similar artwork on sword scabbards, various types of items.
Yeah. So even like on the back of the helmet, it has the same kind of patterns
Oh yeah.
on it.
Yeah, and when I look at the helmets like this, because I actually do have this type of book that had artwork by Douglas McBride, I think his name was, and he did actually show some armor and weapons. And when I looked at that helmet, I thought it as a baseball helmet.
Yeah.
It does look like it, doesn't it?
Kind of does, yeah.
And this is really indistinguishable. But other than this, the Romans in the late Republican era wore a helmet just like this. In fact, this is a good example of what a helmet of a soldier under Julius Caesar would have worn.
Damn.
Probably not an iron helmet, but probably more like that.
And I also see what looks to be an oval shield. I also hear that the Celts might have even used scutum shields.
Use what?
They might have used the same shields as the Roman legionaries used, like the scutums. Some people say that.
No.
They never.
No, it would pretty much have always been a flat one like this, and in various lengths, or even sometimes the British ones are real short, and then the Continental ones.
Oh yeah, because they're more meant for dual combat, because one-on-one fighting instead of.
Even in terrain or something like that.
And from some sculptural evidence, you have northern British shields that were perfect squares in squares.
I also heard that the Celts originated from the Hallstatt culture. Is that correct?
It's a convenient classification, right? Yeah. So when in the 19th century, when the archaeologists started discovering these things and digging up burial mounds, it was convenient just to call it Hallstatt or Latane. But now the academia has expanded so much that now there's more classifications apparently. But for convenience, we still call it Hallstatt for earlier and then Latane for later Iron Age.
Huh.
That's pretty much a Victorian construct.
So how would they make their Celtic shields? Because people say it would either have been boarded style or like a plywood.
I need money.
Alright, I don't have any money right now.
Okay,
Kids.
Use your Confederate money.
Right back.
Sorry, I don't have any. You want your Confederate money?
You want Confederate money?
Try to find something with that. Alright, so
Still a little editing, that's not a big deal.
she's taking her Confederate money to go buy something.
Oh yeah, good idea.
Good job.
Maybe that should stay in the final cut.
It's cute enough, maybe so just give it to her. So yeah, well anyway, the Celtic shields, they would make it out of ply anyway. It would definitely be stronger and lighter, just like plywood today.
And then, but technically, is this like made out of steel or just wood itself?
Wood.
Oh.
Yeah, solid piece of wood there. It's carved out, and then on the back side it's hollowed out, so they have a horizontal grip on here.
Oh yeah, and I hear that there's actually that weight of gravity thing, like it's taller on one end and shorter on the other. Is that?
No, it's the same. Same length, top and bottom. And so
and so the edges. This is leather, right, or
rawhide.
Oh.
So it takes a little bit more of a beating than a leather would. You can see right there.
Yeah. And I even heard some Roman stories that the Celts even bashed the heads of Roman legionnaires sometimes with these things when it came to the
That's another use for a shield. It's definitely using it
Yeah.
to beat.
Or you could just use it and just punch somebody with the edge of your shield.
that are do what the Celts did and just go underneath the shield with a weapon.
Yeah. And so the Celts, more often than not, they would have the spears to fight with, and which is a real advantage to fighting against the Romans with the spear, compared to Romans with their short swords. So yeah.
The major disadvantage that the Celts had is that the Romans developed the pilum, which was more. It would be great if they could kill somebody with it, but it was primarily a shield denial weapon. It would penetrate the shield, and then the soft iron shaft would bend, and then so they wouldn't be able to pull it out of their shield, so they would have to drop their shield, maybe 10 yards from the Roman line. So
But I also heard
leave them exposed.
But I also heard that the Roman pilum was copied off of a Celtic weapon known as the soliferum,
Yeah. Also another thing the Romans stole.
as well as the gladius.
The gladius was an Iberian
Yeah, Celt-Iberian.
Celtic development, yes. And then really earlier in the Republican era and in the regal period of Rome, all of their arms and armor were Greek. So there's very little you can point to that the Romans developed themselves.
Okay, guys, thank you for helping me out on this video.